Hey, welcome or welcome back to Collateral Duty. This is a place where first responders can kick back, talk about the job, and everything in between. Whether it's stories from the field, the ups and downs of the work, or just the random thoughts that pop into our heads, we're here to have real conversations. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's chat. Welcome back to Collateral Duty. Thank you so much for everybody that's been showing us love on YouTube and Spotify. I'm really psyched to see all of the views and comments and interactions that we've been having over the last couple of weeks. So today with me I have my son Travis. Like I said in our last episode, we're going to talk about just acknowledging the toll that, this kind of work, this line of work does or takes on families and relationships, and just talk about some things that Travis has been through growing up with a military dad and then transitioning into first responder or law enforcement mom. And I have some insights being a military wife for the first half of their childhood, supporting my husband's career. We've got some really exciting things we're going to talk about, but first I'd like to introduce, like I said, my son Travis. He's going to be with us today. Anything you got?
I could break down who I am. I'm Travis. I'm 21 years old. I was born in 2003. Yeah, that's kind of it for right now.
A man of few words. No. He normally talks your full head off. We just got over the flu in our house, so he's still got that raspy voice coming out of it. I'm still a little congested, you can probably tell, but we're finally through it. It's been going around. Yeah, so I guess let's just get into it. So one of the first things we want to talk about, and here's just some pointers and some things that we're going to be talking about throughout the episode, but the first one, let's talk a little bit about unique challenges. Some of the long hours, deployments, missed events, birthdays, Christmas, holidays, other things like that. And if you ever have a recollection or a pivotal moment in your life where you remember maybe your dad or even me just not being emotionally available. When you had something to say or something that you felt, or just in general, just being emotionally unavailable, and how that affected you growing up in our house.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, because of both y'all's lines of work, there was a lot of missed holidays and stuff like that, and things that you both couldn't make it or whatever. But it wasn't really out of the norm for me growing up, so it was just whatever.
Like not having somebody there for a Christmas or whatever, that was normal.
Yeah, like it wasn't the end of the world. It was just, okay, it's just Christmas. Doesn't mean like we can't hang out when it gets back home or when you get off of work.
If I haven't shared this yet either, Travis was actually born while his dad was in Iraq. He was not able to come home for the birth of Travis. That wasn't something they were doing back then. And so I was at Fort Belvoir.
Yeah, I was going to say
Fort Belvoir, because that's where I was staying with my family when Travis was born. So I did have my family. We were stationed in Fort Campbell in Kentucky, but I came home because obviously I'm going to have a baby. But yeah, so Travis was actually born without his father present for that. He didn't actually they did not meet each other physically until
3 or 4 months.
So you were born in September, October, November, December, until December. And that was even by chance because their deployment wasn't over. My husband actually ended up contracting a disease from a bug bite. And it's funny now because he's okay, but it's funny to talk about it because it's a literal bug bite. But anyway, long story short, Travis obviously wouldn't have known that at the time because you were just born, but didn't have his dad there when he was born. So that just the first of many instances where a parent wasn't present. But again, like you said, it just seemed like normal.
Legend comes into the world. Someone's not there. It's okay. I get it.
Oh my gosh.
No. Yeah, Dad was in the military from 2002 until 2015. I think it was January of 2015.
February. Yeah.
February. And between 2003 and 2011, I think we did the math, he was home for 3 years. Or
no,
maybe 4.
I think that was the entirety of his, like, for the whole time he was in the military, the whole almost, 14 years, he was only home
for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, because between 2002 and 2011, that was the height of his deployments and field trainings and all of the other things that he was pulled to do. I think 2011 was just the last big sort of hurrah. He had just come back from Korea. We moved up to New York, and then that storm front happened in New Jersey. Hurricane Sandy, I think.
I think Hurricane Sandy was like before me.
Okay, I don't know.
Katrina?
No, that was not before you.
It was some hurricane.
I think
like
it was
2012.
Hurricane Sandy. But regardless, yes, that happened. New Jersey was pretty much underwater, and because I guess they were there, I'm not really sure exactly why they got called active duty, but they went over there and ran security and fuel operations in New Jersey. So I think that was the last of his deployments prior to getting started in that medical, because he had a really big issue in New Jersey that ended up not good for him. And I think that really catapulted his medical retirement at that point, or at least the beginning of it. So yeah, I think from 2002 to 2011, his home time was very small because the op tempo was high.
He definitely had a lot going on, especially with the job that he had. Like, it was very necessary that he was there, being a fueler. But yeah, so dad was gone a lot. I can't really say how like emotionally available he was until really post-military in general, because I didn't really have a personality. And when we moved around so much and I was doing so much, living with y'all, then living with mama and papa, and changing up schools all the time, gaining and losing friends because I'm moving, and so I wasn't even really emotionally available. So how would I know whether you guys were not if myself am not?
I guess what I mean by the question is more or less, did you ever feel when your dad came home from work, or when I came home from work, you had something important to say, or you needed help with something? Or let's go back just to talk about that time frame for a minute. Go back to when we were living in New York and you were having that personal crisis where you were terrified of dying. You thought dying was just this really bad thing. And so think about that time in your life. And of course, that was also the height of your dad's most worst time, because he was really struggling with his PTSD and the TBI and all of that thing at that time. There's got to be a moment where you felt like, and I'm not putting it all on your dad, of course, I'm certain there have been times you were talking when I was in academy and on shift and all that, you're in middle school, high school then. Like, I'm certain there were times where you wanted to say something to me or have a talk to me.
That makes me feel so old. You've been in the academy, or you've been in the department for 10 years, including academy.
Yeah.
And then you just dropped that I was in middle school, high school. Disgusting.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, anyway.
But I will say during that process, that time period where I was so scared of everything, I feel like honestly that was probably the meds I was on, because I had just had my tonsils were taken out, and they gave me this medicine, and I never felt that way before that surgery. And after I stopped taking that medicine and had like a recovery period off of it, I felt much better.
The pain medicine?
I don't know what medicine they gave me.
The only thing they gave you from that was a pain medicine, and it was Tylenol with codeine. I guess that is a narcotic, and maybe in combination with your Adderall. Yeah.
But it definitely changed me in a weird way. I was like the biggest germaphobe. I was scared of everything. I remember one time I was like cleaning my room and I touched like old trash. My hands were dirty. I'm telling the story. And I didn't have soap in my bathroom. I just ran out. So there's all-purpose bleach cleaner. And so I'm like, shoot, wash my hands with it. And then I go eat. And my brain is, oh my God, I just killed myself. I'm going to die. This bleach is going to kill me. I'm going to die. Therefore, I killed myself. Therefore, I'm going to hell. I'm a terrible person. It was this really bad spiral. And I was like 8, 9, maybe 10. So I was freaking out. And in terms of y'all's emotional availability in that time period, Dad was always on some medication or not drugged up from like street drugs from
medication.
Yeah, his medications and everything.
Trying to balance all of that. Yeah.
Dad was very checked out or sleeping or out in the field or pulling 24 hours at work. I don't really think that I went to Dad much for anything, but I remember you and I would be talking and I'd be freaking out to you. And all I can remember you saying ever to anything I ever said was, you just got to take care of yourself and make sure you're a healthy person. And I'm like, but that's not in my genetics. We're not healthy people. Like, I was freaking out about everything.
Yeah. I remember having more like in-depth conversations with you on that subject, but
I mean, that was 10 years ago.
I think
You'll have to forgive my memory.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is just sometimes when you're like in crisis mode, you don't really hear everything either. And plus you're a little kid. But whatever you took from that is what you took from that. I'm not gonna...
Which is like part of why, as I've aged, you saw, I don't know really if you remember, but my junior year, I stopped taking the Adderall. I wasn't as active because I've done all the work my friends need done. And I was working in my junior year, but it wasn't like physical manual labor and all of that work from my friends. And so between the Adderall, the work, I wasn't gaining any weight. I was staying fit, malnourished. But I remember skyrocketing in weight up to 230 from being like 180. And like instantly freaking out that all of my health was going to go down the drain, and that was the end of skinny me. And once I got back to more manual work, I lost that weight, and for the past few years I've been fluctuating between 190 and 205. I won't go higher than 205. I won't go lower than 190. That's one big reason I've been like really conscious about my about my health, because of what I took away from that. But it didn't feel like...
I'm sorry.
No, it's funny. It is funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny because that kind of leads back into... Okay, it's funny because it's funny, but it's not really funny because that goes back into that whole emotional unavailability thing too, because it's not like during your junior year I wasn't here or your dad wasn't here. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's not like we couldn't have had those conversations, or we couldn't have help you reason through that or whatever. But it goes back to just how long in the course of your life how many times did you feel like you couldn't bring something up, or did you feel like you didn't get a response, or you didn't get that support that you needed, that you just felt like,
So to be perfectly honest, as a kid, that wasn't really like a thing. Like I could come to y'all with anything.
Right.
The only time I wouldn't come to y'all is if like I was doing things I shouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. But y'all found out anyway.
Mm-hmm. So you just on that sip my coffee?
Yeah. You do that. Can't even get drunk with my friends without getting in trouble. No, but I would say it like, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily emotional unavailability, but I will say that the bigger change came after I became an adult. Now, obviously, like, you don't have to sit there and, oh, there you go, Travis, good job. I'm 21 years old.
Right.
But, like, sometimes I'll come to you and Dad with, like, my welds or a video of me at boxing, and I'm like, hey, check this out. Or I'm like, hey, I just learned this in boxing. And not all the time, but sometimes you'll just be like, and that'll be the conversation.
But
I'm like, no, word. That kind of hurted, but cool.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to just go practice in my room.
And I ask you every time you come home from boxing how it went.
No, yeah, for the most part, yeah. No, and I won't even say so much as like you versus dad. You kind of did take a little more interest, whereas dad is just kind of more. Okay. But, and I think that was more the time period that was happening. Because I don't know if you remember when I very first started, I came to y'all with everything, welding or boxing or whatever. And then I've stopped. I stopped because of those responses I was getting. But if I really sit down and think about it, one thing that I tell a lot of people who ask why I'm so nonchalant is a lot of things aren't nearly as personal as they seem. So when I sit here and I really think about it, Dad didn't not care about what I'm doing. Dad was just grumpy for 3 weeks. Dad was just done, just mad at the world. That wasn't against me. He was just being dad, being old man dad.
I think in defense of some people too, not just your dad or me or you or whoever else, but like when you have a lot going on in your head or a lot going on around you, like when you're overwhelmed, and I think that goes back to the emotionally unavailable thing too, is just like when you have a lot going on, sometimes it's hard to have a true reaction to something.
Yeah.
I can definitely think, I can't think of a specific moment, but I can remember there were times in my life where someone has shown me something or given me something or said something to me, or I've been in a moment where I should have been like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing, this is so fun, thank you so much, or I love you so much, or whatever, and my reaction is just thanks. And it wasn't because I didn't care, it wasn't because there's a whole nother reason behind that for me. We can get into that if you want to, but that's some deep seated whatever. But
if you want to,
but I know that outside of my awkwardness of being the center of attention, I have also had times when my brain is, I can't focus on this thing right here because all I can think about is the 50,000 things that are in the back of my head. Like I can't chill.
See, I think that's the difference between you and me. You have a lot going on in here, which is why when you get gifts and stuff, it's, oh, thanks. For me, I'm just autistic. I'm really bad at receiving gifts. And maybe it is partially because of that, or a form of emotional
detachment or unavailability.
Yeah, like I feel like when I get gifts, like inside I'm like, whoa, let's go. But on the outside I'm like, oh, dope. I appreciate it. Like it's not like...
For me, it's just I don't know how to react to that.
Yeah.
I've never, like for friends, I've given gifts and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so neat. Thank you so much that you thought of me. But like exactly in my own family, and I'm not throwing any of my family under the bus. I'm truly not, because I just think it's just the way we were and the way we raised. But we're grateful, we're thankful, and I know we all know that we love each other, but the reactions are not there. I don't know how you... I don't know. I've definitely gotten reactions like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Or I've had given a gift to a family member and it made them cry. It was an emotional thing. I don't know that any of us really enjoy being the center of attention in that way. So it becomes awkward. And so then you're like, I don't know how to react to this. You've seen those videos of those little kids that like open up something that they've really wanted forever. And they just like immediately start crying because they're overwhelmed by emotion. Not us. Not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I've ever cried over something, over happy emotion like that. Like, I've definitely had moments where I teared up or started to cry. Like, after I gave birth to you and your brother both, like, it's such a mix of, like, pain and happiness and overwhelming and everything. You're just like, I don't know what to do with all of this right now, you know?
Right.
But...
No, don't lie. When I came out, I slapped the nurse, and you were like, oh, God.
Yeah, really.
This one is going to be a lot. The nurse didn't slap me. You know how the nurse will
slap
the
right.
Nah,
you were
I slapped the nurse. I was like, ah!
Lady, don't touch me. I'm alive. Trust me, the world's going to know. No, actually, and we're going to go completely off topic for just a minute, and then we got to come back. But this is how I knew. This is how I knew you were a handful, okay? 1 minute... the nurse or the doctor is in, checks me. She's all right. Everything looks good. You're moving forward. I'm trying not to be TMI here, whatever, right? Everything looks great. And I'm just going to step out for a few minutes, go get changed, because she doesn't have her gown on or anything. She's just in her white jacket and normal clothes and shoes and everything, right? She walks out. Probably 3 minutes later, I tell my mom, because my mom was with me, I'm like, I'm pretty certain he's about to come out. I can't really feel much. I got an epidural, but I'm pretty certain he's about to come out. There's some pressure. It's coming, right? She presses the button. The nurse goes and gets the doctor. Doctor runs back in, still in her jacket and regular clothes, and Travis just whoosh with all his liquids and everything. You just stormed into.
You know how, like, when I was a kid in the bathtub, I used to go against the back wall of the tub and push and slide
yourself.
That
yeah.
was me in the womb. I said, whee!
Yep, pretty much. He just projected himself out. He was like, I'm out. I'm coming. Ready or not, here I am. And so after it's all said and done, everything's cleaned up, I'm holding him, I'm having my little meltdown or whatever, the doctor is, I'm going to go change. I'll be back. I didn't realize that she didn't have her protective gear on.
Oh, so she's wearing
all of my liquids and your liquids and all of the things that are in the sack that holds the baby that gushed out of me when you popped out were all over her own personal clothing, her socks, in her shoes. Yeah, so that was when I knew. And then, of course, we've told the story, I want to say on the episode with your dad or maybe on your podcast, I'm not sure, but how 2 rooms down, you're down there in the family visitation with my parents and my other son, his brother, and I'm on the phone with your dad, who's calling me from a mountaintop, truck top in Iraq on a satellite phone, and is that our baby girl? Because, yeah, we also thought he was a girl.
I was going to be Michaela Savannah. Thank God I'm a boy. That was a terrible name.
And I'm like,
y'all were awful for that.
That's our son. Congratulations. And he's also 2 rooms down the hallway. And that's how I knew that you were going to give me a run for my money.
I'm the reason you have gray hairs.
I don't have gray hair. It's highlights. Highlights. Blonde.
Natural?
Blonde. No. Of course they're natural. Yes. Anyway. All right, so let's get back on topic. We talked about just unique challenges. Oh, what about secondary trauma or like stress transfer? You got to think, maybe when you were younger, I think you were too young to understand secondary trauma, so to speak.
I'm gonna be so for real. I have no idea what you're talking about.
So, okay, so
21,
like, it's like when, like, I'm going through something traumatic, or dad did, or is, or whatever, and then we're dealing with that trauma. We're working through that. And then, what are you laughing?
I think I know where this is going.
And then, like, you feel that.
Okay.
Maybe a better term for that instead of secondary trauma would be more something like, there's another word for it, completely escapes me, but yeah.
Essentially, y'all are going through something, and either you maybe took it out on us, or you came to us with that, and now I carry that. In some senses, yeah. Y'all have come to me with things, and I feel like I've always been like the one people come to. Now, obviously, like, you and dad can't come to a kid over grown up stuff. But I feel not grown up stuff, or just like things that I would understand, y'all would or could come to me to.
Without causing you trauma or a traumatic response.
Yeah.
Like explaining to you why we couldn't afford to have a birthday party or something like that.
No, yeah.
I think I'm not trying to cut you off from whatever you're thinking, but I think a good maybe story for you on this, we were talking about this the other day, is how you feel like, how you've always, or not always, but for a while now felt like the protector.
Oh.
Because that's secondary, that's vicarious trauma. That's, taking on stressors that aren't your own. You may not have felt the trauma or been through the trauma or been through the stress, but because of what we're experiencing and what we're saying or the stories that you've heard, it's almost like you were there. And so I think that's a good thing for you to share.
So I feel like, and not in a negative way, because it partially made me who I am today, but dad would overshare when I was too young about his military experiences. I feel maybe like 16, 17, we could have had some of those conversations, but I was still in car seats having these conversations with dad. And then with you going into your line of work, talking about some of the things to be weary of, it changed my perspective of the world as a whole and society. And I'm a lot more weary.
Leery?
Weary.
Weary would mean like you're worn out and you're tired and
What is when
like you're aware.
I'm a lot more aware of my surroundings than most people are. Like some of my friends are so like not in it. Like the other day I was in my welding booth. So here's like the room. In this corner is my booth. Right next to that is my buddy's booth. I came out and around, and as I'm around, you can see straight through. He just walks straight into me. Like
just spatially unaware.
Yeah, just completely unaware of their surroundings. And I'm the exact opposite, and I feel like I always have been because of what y'all have said, along with, like you said, the protector mindset. Like, we used to go out to the store, and it'd be just you and me. And some dude would look at you in a wrong way, and I'd look at him like, we'll scrap. Like, we fight. Don't look at my mama like that.
7-year-old Travis.
Yeah. I got a black eye from a chair, but I'll beat you up. Like, I used to run into chairs.
You used to run into everything.
Yeah. That was actually going to bring me to another point. What did I say? I was saying...
being the protector.
Prior to that. Oh, okay. And a lot of what you guys have told me about things to look out for or things that you've come across in your career. And obviously you can only share but so much.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But there was this guy who was quoted, and I can't remember exactly who it was now. I can look it up super quick if you want, or you can blow it up on there. But there was this quote that said, have a plan to everyone you meet. Which was like, not quite to that extent. I don't want to kill everyone I meet, but I want to know that I'm going to be able to protect my family or myself from everyone I meet. Everyone I meet could be a threat. And I need to have that in the back of my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not going to run around friggin' slaughtering people. No.
No, I get what you're saying. So just quick short thing, because I've been talking about wellness and mental health and all that too. And I don't want to elongate this any more than it is, but like, how do you turn that off?
Like
when you're always on high alert, you know what I'm saying? You never have off. So, that can really easily turn into things like PTSD and stuff like that. So, like, for you personally, how do you turn that off?
I don't really. If we're, like, walking around the mall or, like, Walmart, I'm not going to be like... But if I hear or see something that's a little off, I'm going to be like... I'm going to be nosy as hell. But, like, when it comes to, like, we just did a show with my girlfriend's brother, or I went to go see him perform. And that whole time I was like, my head was on a swivel and I was like really weary.
Yeah, I feel like in a situation like that's an okay time to be like very aware. But I just mean, obviously I don't feel like you're like that at home.
No.
But if you're ever out with like Dad and I and your brother and we're all just walking around, maybe in the mall or whatever, do you ever feel like you can just chill?
I feel like more so now than ever, yeah. Because especially if it's you, me, Dad, and Logan, because you, Logan, and Dad are all professionally trained how to handle yourselves in situations. And then there's me, who just knows how to scrap, knows how to protect himself and his people. I'm not professionally trained, but I'm trained in a way.
I got it. I just wanted to make sure that you were... Obviously, we've talked about this before.
No,
not creating a problem within yourself.
I do typically turn it off to an extent. It'll never like fully be non-existent in a moment. Like I said, if I'm walking around Walmart, I'm not paying mind to nobody else.
Yeah.
It's not likely anyone else is going to try and cause a problem. And if I'm crowded, then yeah, because God knows what could happen. Like someone could slip something in a drink. Someone could walk by and pickpocket. Like I kid you not, at that show, I was wearing my Jack Daniels jacket that has all the inside pockets and the pockets up here that button shut. So it's not like a snap button. It's like an actual jean button. I had my wallet and phones in all those pockets. And I felt someone grab my butt and slip their finger into my pocket.
Yeah.
Like someone tried to steal my wallet. Thank God it wasn't there, because they probably could have.
Yeah, that's how it works. Like they try to crowd you, and especially in crowded situations. Yeah.
And I was going to say something to them, but I was like, no, they didn't get nothing. It's not worth it. But it's never really off, but it's not as strong when I'm not crowded, because I could see you coming if there's an issue versus you're literally right next to me. Wasn't there a dude in Northern Virginia who'd walk past people and slice them open with a box cutter?
Yes, it was very short lived, but I think they called him the mall butt
Yeah,
slicer
you
or
would like get your
something.
butt. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
ridiculousness.
funny. That's
It's not
ridiculous.
funny, but it's funny because that's what they called him, but it's
Right.
not actually funny. But yeah,
But that's why if people are close, I'm instantly on them.
yeah,
But aside from that, I'm relaxed. You
yeah,
know.
good. All right, for the next subject or talking point or whatever that I wanted to bring up, let's talk about like communication strategies. I think we've already a little bit touched base on that, like how to communicate with your family without oversharing. And I think you touched on that. Like I said, you know, looking back, you can think of times when, your dad had maybe told you stories or little things that you were probably too young to really process. And I know your brother has some situations like that he shared with me, and even my brother, has moments where he felt, oh my gosh, like this man is about to go overseas and he might not come back. And I've just been charged with protecting my mom or my sister in this way. Or in addition to that, let's talk a little bit about feeling safe to communicate your feelings or communicate at all.
So you mean kind of the first part of your question,
Yeah.
like just how it felt with dad or you going away.
Yeah.
No, obviously, like you were never gone long, but you
But
had long shifts.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. And of course, you guys don't really know or didn't really know, don't really know like what the back of the jail looks like. Or
Right.
I don't want to go into any detail because I'm still actively working, but
Right.
just talking about that kind of stuff and asking the questions that you want to ask because, of course, you want to know what's going on. And it matters to me what you do in your day. So I'm sure it matters to you what I do during the day.
Yeah. So it was never weird for dad to go anywhere. I remember it was you, me, Logan stayed home with my uncle, but we went to go drop dad off at the airport for Korea, for me to get sent off to Korea. And I
Here.
was just, all right, see you in a year, Pop. All right, bye.
Right.
Give me a hug. I didn't really, and now obviously his stationing to Korea was not like a combat deployment, but obviously he's on the border of South Korea and North Korea. There could be an issue. I didn't understand that. So I never really carried any fear of what could be happening to dad. Even after watching war movies, I didn't think that it was anything like that. It just didn't click. But when it comes to stuff like now, you had that concert you pulled security for. I don't know if you want to disclose who it was for, but
21 Savage, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But some of his prior concerts, there were violent issues and
There was.
some.
It
Yeah.
had nothing to do with the concert, though. Surprisingly, it was complete. It was a completely separate incident. Just happened on the same campus.
So you had pulled security for that, and that was worrisome. One, because like I was young, I didn't know what type of crowd that would bring in between my grandmother and y'all warning me about going to certain concerts. Like I really badly wanted to go to a Kid Rock concert. Now I'm old enough to know I probably shouldn't go to a Kid Rock concert. But like I always had this something bad happens at concerts or people do stupid things at concerts. I was worried about you in terms of that. Or I remember sometimes you just get a call and you'd have to immediately get dressed and run out the door. And I'd worry about you because I didn't know what was going on. I just heard you leave the house. I'm in bed. You're supposed to be in bed. Now you're running out the door.
Yeah, and those were
But,
mostly not threats.
right.
Those were mostly like peer support type situations where I was in no danger.
Right.
But yeah.
So obviously there's been, some concern about your safety. With dad, again, the only time I ever really was scared about dad's safety in terms of his work was when he'd had to have to go to the field in Fort Drum. Because he'd be like, oh, the coyotes are something terrible. And I was like, I remember getting chased by coyotes. That's not cool.
That's so funny that was the thing that you were scared of.
Right? Like, dad was in Iraq getting blown up, and I'm like, those coyotes, though. that they'll get you.
What about, though, going back to the communication aspect, did you ever feel like you were safe to express how you felt about that at school, or did you not talk about it at school, or did you ever feel like you had a safe space to express how you felt about that, or express anything about that kind of, whether that's at school or at home or family or friends? Or
I was gonna say, specifically school, not really. I built a persona for myself in school that I was like Mr. Macho Man.
even elementary
But
school?
a little bit, but not nearly as much as I did in like middle school. Not even middle school. When high school hit, I really was like, I'd lie to make myself seem
Come at me,
tougher.
bro. Right.
Yeah, and that ended up with a couple of scraps. It was a terrible idea. Be you. Just be yourself. Don't lie. But where's it going?
Safe space to communicate.
Oh, yeah. At home, obviously, I could talk about whatever I needed to. There'd be times where I'd be scared to come to y'all if I had done something, because I'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna get yelled at, I'm gonna get in trouble, or y'all are gonna take my phone and my Xbox, whatever. But I also knew that if it was that serious, I could come to y'all.
Yeah.
Or if sometimes, like when Dad is, on edge himself, I'll intentionally not come to him with certain things as not to push him further. Like, you have to really learn what whether it be like PTSD or just severe anxiety or whatever person in your family has, that you have to know when to just suck it up and deal with it by yourself, or go to someone else that you can trust. Like, there's been points where I wouldn't come to you because I knew you were on edge with work, or you're at a point of almost like a burnout. Mm-hmm. Or there's Dad and he's having a build up to a PTSD thing, or he's just absolutely dog tired from work or whatever. And I'll just be like, okay, cool. I could reach out to Logan, or I'll just go ride my bike and kind of sort it out in my own head. And that's something I still do as an adult now. If I see that y'all are on the struggle, I'll either go to Logan and Violet, or I'll hop in the car or on the bike and I'll just think.
Right.
There's nothing, there's a lot of people think that going to clear your mind or like whatever is stupid or a waste of time. When in reality, there's nothing wrong with just sitting and pondering about what you've got going on. Like I was talking about earlier, I sit there and think on things, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Dad doesn't not care about my boxing stuff. He's just going through it. A lot of things are less personal than they seem. You can come to a lot of conclusions just by not secluding yourself, but taking time to yourself and just pondering.
Yeah.
I know that's a little off topic from what you were asking, but that also does go into understanding the person with the issue in your family.
Just being a support element in that way by truly investing in understanding where that person is coming from and what they're going through and how to navigate that.
Rather than adding onto their plate, you figured out yourself. Like you find coping mechanisms, which it doesn't hurt to still go to that person when they're a little bit better.
Yeah.
Even though you've got your answer. The prime example, like you and Dad, y'all have more life experience than I do. If I'm still questioning what's happening in my noggin, I'll come to y'all.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's actually a good caveat into the next talking point, was resources. Being thrown into the active duty military life in the way that I was really tough. I'm not going to lie, because we came in at a time where like family readiness was just on the build, and it existed, but like how that existed was a little bit different, obviously, in 2002 than it was when we got out of the military in 2015. And I always played a role in that. So we're talking about resources. At military, your family readiness group is a huge asset. And I don't know if they have the FRSAs anymore. I've been out of that life for 10 years now, but that was a paid position at the end of your dad's career. But they're a good resource for information and just staying connected to the unit and the chain of command. And you guys probably don't really remember, but we used to, because I was part of the family readiness group, and many places I was actually the leader, except for when he was overseas. And prior to being the leader, I was a communicator. I forget what they call that, like a point of contact. That's what it was. But we used to go to those meetings where we would hear from the first sergeant or the rear detachment and what's going on. And you guys would just go to a little play group and we'd have pizza and whatever. There were times where I would take you guys up to the company area and we'd get on basically a Zoom call with your dad and being able to see him visually. And I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the company we used back then, but it was very similar to like Zoom or Skype or something like that. But anyway, so some other resources. Now that I'm working for a county entity, we have the employee assistance program. And I think I may have given you that number at some point in the past, or you may have used it to try to find a therapist. And your dad's therapist, we were literally just having this conversation the other day. He's been with this guy for 7 years. Yeah, it's a good rapport that they've built. So that's why he's able to consistently be there and help him and work with him through the things that he deals with. But he found that guy through our EAP. We utilized the 8 free sessions, and after that, insurance paid for it. But a lot of people are scared to use an EAP, and this might not be something that you would experience because you using my EAP doesn't affect me. And me using my EAP doesn't affect me, but so many people have this misunderstanding that simply because it's a county or an employer provided program that your employer is going to know about the resources that you use or the things that you do with them. And it really isn't like that.
And I think some people have a fear too, that especially the younger kids who don't really know what they're getting into, like the fresh out of academy deputies or the fresh out of basic soldiers, think maybe if I go seek help, I'm going to lose my job because they don't see me fit.
Right, exactly.
Like they're gonna let me go or fire me or release me or whatever because they think I'm gonna
do something crazy. Yeah.
When in reality, like they're just, for one, they're not gonna know until you share it, and if you share it, from my understanding, the most you're gonna get is, hey, there's peer support, right?
You get the help that you need.
Or there's, hey, if you need anything, just come, let me know.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, you get the help that you need. That's the thing. I was just having this conversation the other day, too, going back to the family readiness thing. For those of you who are in law enforcement or in the first responder world, really, a family readiness liaison or coordinator, something like that person is so pivotal, so important in your program because you never know what someone's going through. When you kids were younger, let's just say your dad was still in the military. I don't want to use anybody else's example. So let's just say your dad was still in the military, still getting deployed and all those things. There would be times where I'm literally acting as a single parent. And so that we still have a job to do. We still have to show up. We still have to do our job. But there is empathy, I believe, for people that are going through a situation. And because there's empathy, there's help. No. So rather than jumping to, oh, no, that's a write-up and you're about to get your last chance write-up or whatever, I think it's so important for us as leaders and the administration of these agencies to just really delve into the bigger picture. Yes, you have to be at work on time. Yes, you have to be able to do your job successfully. But if there's something that we can do as an organization or we can do as a county to assist you through working through some of the issues that you're working through, or maybe there's a tool that we have that you don't know about that can help you to successfully report to duty and complete the mission and just ease some of that difficulty. Why would we not explore that? So maybe it would just take me as a leader reaching out to our family readiness coordinator and just be like, hey, this is the situation with this person. They're having some issues dealing with an issue at home. That person can then reach out to you and the spouse and give you guys maybe tools and resources of your own. I don't know.
That, and to break off of what you're saying, for those who aren't like military or first responder, like there's still resources you have to get help. Prime example, I go to community college. I don't know if I should disclose which one I go to. But I go to community college and they offer free therapy for anything. Like feeling burnt out, they got it. You're struggling to pay attention, they got it. ADHD, ADD, you got it. Or you're just depressed, financial troubles, anything. They have a specialist who can help you for free. And that's super cool. And I've thought about using it because we know my experience with therapy.
Yeah.
Have you
That's
tried
another
smiling?
episode.
But I've thought about using it because you know how I am with my school.
Yeah.
I will fall back and then it'll just bury me and I'll just be like, and then I end up failing the class.
Yeah.
But
that existed when you were in high school and elementary school too. And I think you got a little taste of that when you were younger, but I think so many little kids don't really understand that concept. But I think more little kids are more open to talk about things anyway. Maybe like we just had this hour-long conversation about how you kept things close because it's just that's the way that but you had counselors when you were in elementary school. You remember way back when we had that little incident where you maybe told a little fib about being thrown through a wall and all that. We're not going to get into that, but I'm just saying that woman that you were talking to, she was actually a counselor at the school. She wasn't a teacher. She was a therapist counselor at the school. And when she called me, of course, she was able to say that, we already ascertained that it didn't actually happen to Travis, that he just conglomerated this story from some things that he had seen or heard.
I didn't want to tell people I fell off of my dresser.
Right. But, so like I said, those things existed when you were in elementary school. But like I said, I just think little kids don't know they need therapy. Yeah. Little kids don't know they need someone to talk to. They just talk. Like, it's just a thing. Like, that's not
Well, but I remember, like, I had that therapist when I was real young.
Yeah, he wasn't, but he wasn't really a therapist. I think we had just not catch up, but yeah. Anyway, continue.
I was just going to say, like, I remember just sitting there and being able to, like, just chit-chat with him about anything random.
Yeah.
I literally talked to him.
He was a psychiatrist, actually, but still.
Like, that helped me out a lot as a little kid, and I still remember that. Versus, like, just rambling on with my friends.
Yeah.
Like, even as a little kid, I liked conversation with meaning.
Yeah.
Even though I'd tell them about my Teletubbies. It's not a conversation with meaning, but to me, at that point in time in my life, it was.
It was Invader Zim.
Or, yeah, Invader Zim, whatever. I still love Invader Zim. Gur's the one, okay? He's that guy. But I always preferred conversation with meaning.
Yeah.
So even though it was about Invader Zim, that's what I was into at the time. It was a conversation worth talking about.
Somebody was listening to you. Somebody was investing in you, like outside of your family. And
right.
Yeah, definitely therapy, family therapy even. And I don't think we've ever really done that as a family, but I can attest to marriage counseling, that type of family type therapy really helping. And not 100% saved your dad's and my marriage when we moved to New York. Going through that therapy that we had. Otherwise, I honestly and truly don't believe that we would probably still be together if we didn't have that aspect of therapy.
That resource.
Yeah, that resource. Support groups. And then that goes back to just like the family readiness groups. We didn't know anybody half the time. Like, we had our neighbors here and there. You guys went to school. People that really knew what you were experiencing because their dad or mom was deployed too. So you get to go to these little play groups, and you may not have even talked about it, but at least you guys had something in common. Do you remember, you might have been too young, I might have taken your brother, but you remember the Elliots? Yeah. He was deployed with your dad, and it was Easter, I think. We had a little Easter egg hunt, and then later on in that evening, we were doing pillowcases, painting or drawing pillowcases or something that we were going to send. Do you remember that?
I remember the Easter.
Okay, I might have left you home.
Hunt, but I don't remember the pillowcase.
Okay, yeah. I might have left you home because you were pretty young at the time. Yeah. I think I might have taken your brother. But regardless, there were all these things that we did together as a group that it wasn't necessarily like a support group or a therapy group or anything, but it was something we did together. I mean, it was a support group. We were all our own support element.
And I remember, like, when you were the head of the FRG, I don't remember her name, and even if I did, I wouldn't disclose it, but there was a lady who came to the house. And I can't remember if y'all were planning for the Christmas party, or if she was seeking help, or if you reached out to her, or whatever happened, but y'all sat in the living room and talked for a few hours while me, Logan, and her kid all played around in the backyard or around the neighborhood or whatever, yeah.
Yep.
And so there are resources, as much as it doesn't feel like there is, or maybe it's not smart to reach out to them. It is smart to. do it, there's very little repercussion, if any.
Yeah. There shouldn't ever be any.
Yeah, there really shouldn't ever be any. But, reach out and find the help that you need based off of what you're going through, because it's there, it's available. A lot of the time, like, it's becoming more and more free.
Yeah.
As time goes on. And it's okay to do. No one's gonna hate you.
Yeah. There's a lot of books out there too. Kevin Gilmartin's a good writer for first responders, law enforcement specific. I'll put some links here for you guys to see some of those resources for books. There's tons of apps out there now too. So many organizations are using these apps like Cortico. Their peer support that have all the resources in one place, links to your peer support members, links to other types of help, stuff like that. And these are more modern things. In 2002, when we were new in the military, like, that just didn't exist. We weren't, we weren't there yet. But
and seeking therapy in that point in time was just different too.
It was.
You definitely got judged.
Oh,
for sure.
100%. 100%.
Now it's, you're in therapy? Hey, me too.
Isn't everyone?
We're best friends now.
Yeah. No, but
antidepressants.
Now too, YouTube, which of course has been around forever, but I think the use of YouTube and what that looks like and the things that are available are just huge. And podcasts like this, there's so many resources out there. Just get on your smartphone. I like to tell them, you got the smartest phone in the world in your hand. Get on there and just look for what you're looking for, or Google what you're looking for. Search for it. You'll find it. It's out there. And of course, in the description and on these pop-ups, I'll make sure there's some information for you there as well, just some things that I've found. But military, law enforcement, police, fire, whatever, it's all there. I just repeated myself. I was redundant, but it's fine. There's so many resources, and resources for family. And the Association of Chiefs of Police, IACP, has a big wellness and family readiness section on their website, so I'll link that as well. But so many things: financial readiness, spiritual stuff. This stuff we got to get out there and share with our family. This isn't a secret.
Right.
We don't have to. We, as the first responders, don't have to live in this world by ourselves. The most important part of being in this world is having that support element. And if your family is not a part of that, then you're doing it wrong.
And obviously, I know that your podcast is targeted to more first responder and military families and people. But if you have no ties to any of that, there's still help out there.
Oh, yeah.
And you still go through things in life. There's still help. Just get it.
Yeah.
There's endless resources.
Right.
And they're easy to find.
Right.
Every time you turn your head, you can find one.
Yeah. You don't have to be in a high stress, high alert world or career field or anything to experience stress and trauma and burnout and all those things. Absolutely not. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do or what you don't do or who you are or where you are or whatever. There's help out there for anyone and everything. So just don't ever feel like you're alone and you have to deal with something without that support element or the help. It's out there. It's out there.
100%.
That's a good caveat into the next talking point and getting ready to wrap up this chat. But strengthening those relationships. I've been very blessed and had the benefit of having my family around. My relationship is really good with my siblings and my dad, and that support element has always been there. And so I think I mentioned that my family is all very close by. We're all within a couple hours of each other. And my kids have always grown up with the benefit of having my family around. I think having their dad deploy, being able to go home to my parents and just be a second parent to them has always been good. And so if their dad was deployed and I was just not having a good day, my dad was always there, or my mom was always there at the time to be a support element for you guys too. Find a way to build and strengthen and support those relationships. One of the things that we do now, and this is very more recent, because his brother and his
sister-in-law.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Your brother and his wife just moved out after living with us for a year once he got out of the military. So we had dinner together almost every night. So one of the things that we've implemented in the last few months has just been we will have a monthly family dinner. Absolutely. Yeah. Last month we did ours, and I highly unrecommend, do not do.
1 out of 10 experience.
Yeah, not even 1. Like, I'm only giving this a 1 star because I had to give it 1 star, okay? Right. Is the viral DoorDash group dinner, whatever. It ended up costing us probably 4 times what it would have cost us just to go out to eat somewhere. Whatever. It was an experience. We did it. It was fun.
I was going to say it was fun. Frustrating on your part.
Yeah.
Fun.
But we all, there's 3 of us, him and Travis and his girlfriend, Logan his wife, and myself and my husband. We all have a different part of the meal that we're responsible for. And so we did that in February. Our March dinner is actually coming up next weekend. We're super excited. It's green themed or St. Patrick's Day themed. Travis is responsible for the main course. So they're going to come up with that. Mark and I are responsible for the dessert, the drinks, and the appetizers. We've already got our plan in place. And then Logan and his wife are taking what are they doing? Side dishes or something?
I think they're dessert and side. Or did you already say dessert?
I've got dessert.
We might have to renegotiate the terms of this deal.
I think it's a side dish or something like that. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point is, we are investing in each other in that way to do this family dinner at least once a month. And we see each other times. Obviously, I just shot our last episode with Logan, and I see him at work in passing from time to time. He's on a night shift, and I work Monday through Friday during the days. Other than that, we talk to each other almost every day on the phone. Travis, he still stays with us, so we see him every day. We always conversate, come home from work, come home from class. We're like, hey, what you been doing? What'd you do in class today? How was work? How was this? How was that? How was school? So just really building those bonds and doing things together that just strengthen that support system. Any ideas that you have or things that we've done over the years that were ritualistic?
The biggest thing I just want to say in terms of investing in your family and whatnot is, as someone whose family's a first responder and military, there's obviously things that they carry with them for the rest of time. Invest in them by not only being someone they can come to when they need to, but also learning their behavior patterns. Prime example, I'll know when my dad is going to have a really bad PTSD day. It builds up. And I learn how to either A, do things that will help him steer clear of that. I'll be like, hey, Dad, let's go get on the bikes. Let's go for a ride. Or with Mom, I can tell when she's getting burnt out because she starts to get a little bit sick. You do get sick when you get burnt out.
I do.
Yeah. And so I'll be like, hey, Ma, like, why don't we go break the bank at Michael's? Like, why don't we go shopping or whatever? Not that spending money is what helps you, but going to Michael's, going to these places that you enjoy is what I think helps you. Invest in taking time into getting to know your person and helping them with their bad moments. But I think things like this dinner that we're doing once a month is helpful to everyone across the board.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're going to hang out, enjoy good food, poke fun at one or the other for bringing stupid food.
Oh, I already know. Your dad and I are going to get roasted so hard. I'm so excited for it.
I think we are too, to be honest. And it's not my choice. It's my girlfriend's. But like, even still, like my brother, I've had to get to learn him more recently than ever. But I know when he wants to hang out with me, he won't say, hey, let's hang out. It's, hey, can you come help me with this? Hey, can you come do this with me? I will say he's getting better at it. He's getting better at that. The other day he asked me to go fishing with him when I'm feeling better. I'm hoping to be able to do that. But yeah, like you got to learn your people, learn what they really need, learn how to combat what they've got going on to help them. And just, it will all around be a better environment for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for real. Just doing those things and keeping that support element open and recognizing. I talked about that actually. Just know your people. Know who's around you. Yeah. And you actually just went into that recognizing burnout thing like that. I don't even have to bring that up. Good for you.
Thanks.
But yeah, let that be a reminder that strong family support definitely improves just the outcome of everything, like you just said.
Just a much better environment. If you wake up mad because your family isn't the greatest, or like you're avoiding coming home because it's not the greatest right now. Like, that's just miserable.
Yeah.
You know, it really is just miserable, and it creates a tension and a wedge and drives people apart. When you can sit there and either A, talk about your issues, or B, find ways to improve your situation with your family without having necessarily to talk about what's going on.
Right. Well, and that goes into too, just some people don't have family like that. Like, you can think about your dad, and I don't want to get too into details, but he doesn't have much like that in the realm of family that he can rely on to be, you know, that support element, which is why for so long my family, our family, has been that support element. Travis, I know you can attest to being there for people that don't necessarily have that family aspect. So what I'm getting at is, you don't have to be someone's literal birth blood brother or sister or mom or dad or whatever, you know. That's why peer support is so important.
Yeah. Peer support isn't a program through a department.
Yeah,
peer support
we talked about that.
So you've covered this. I don't have to.
No, I mean, you can say what you're going to say.
So peer support is my buddy in class. He's going through it real bad. I'll stop him and be like, "Hey man, why don't we step outside, have a smoke, and talk about what's going on? Like, I'm here for you. You ain't alone."
Right.
Peer support is one of your coworkers is going through it. You take some time to help them, or if they ask for help, you genuinely give them the time of day. It's not a program that you've got to go find. It's right there next to you. It's your peers that you're supporting. Peer support.
Just be that person. Not everybody can be that person. I'm well aware of that. Not everybody is prepared to hear the answers that come out of someone's mouth when you're like, "Hey man, everything good? How's it going?" Sometimes people are just raw. They're just gonna be like, "Man," and you were not prepared for that.
100%.
That's not for everybody, and I get that. If at least you can listen, you can be an open ear, or just allow someone to have that venting moment, like, that's being peer support. That's being that support element. Because like I said, not everybody has that. Not everybody has their parents. Not everybody has siblings. Not everybody has a great relationship with their family. You know, just try to be a little understanding and just be a nice person. Just be a kind person. It doesn't take that much work.
Just care.
Exactly. Just care. It doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. It doesn't at all.
No.
So.
And it feels good too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll hear someone who's going through it, and you'll sit there and talk to them, and it could be 45 minutes, it could be 3 hours. Sit there and talk to them. And sometimes you might walk away feeling more energized.
Oh, yeah.
You might walk away feeling fantastic because not only did you help this person, but you just made a friend. You just made someone who it feels good to talk to.
I actually just read an article about this not too long ago, and I actually sent it out as one of our quarterly wellness messages. Mm-hmm. Being nice to someone, being kind to someone, just not handing out, but being that is actually good for your heart. It's good for your own actual health.
Yeah. You supposedly need 7 hugs a day.
Yeah. It has to do with all of those, what do you call, not hormones, but those chemicals that are released in your brain, the oxytocin, the serotonin, all of those things, like just being able to see someone else smile in your direction, or just knowing that you were able to at least cause a happy reaction or a good reaction out of someone, releases those chemicals in your own body. So just simply by being that support element, or by being nice to someone, you're actually increasing your own health. Absolutely. I'll link that article because it's actually a good one, and we used it for like Heart Health Month, February, whatever.
I'll definitely look into that too, because that's actually really cool.
Yeah, there's actually a science behind it. There's a science behind it, which is pretty cool. I'm always like, give me the facts, give me the science. I want to know, but that's in there. But we've been talking your ear off for a while now. Travis, I really appreciate you spending some time with me here, just talking about your experiences as a family member. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, knows what comes in your future as far as where you're going once you get through school and decide what you're doing. But either way, it's exciting. I've already got jobs lined up for him for welding, some things that he needs to make for me. But
I got you. My welds aren't great. Don't ask me to do TIG.
But yeah, so that's just some insight there. And challenge for you, reach out to a loved one today, whether that's a friend or a family member, maybe someone that, you know, you haven't spoken to in a while, or maybe just someone that you don't regularly talk to. Just start a conversation and see where it goes. Be that support element. And I always like to say, be the reason someone smiles today. So with that, any closing thoughts?
You care if I challenge them with another?
Go ahead.
It's probably a little cliche for some of y'all, but do something that your future self would be proud of today too. Like whether that be 10 minutes in the future, a year in the future, 10 years in the future. Do something that would make your future self happy today. Whether that be putting on your seatbelt in the car or holding the door for someone. Just do something that would make your future self proud and happy of who you are.
I like it. I like it. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate you all hanging in there with this message today. Proud to have introduced you to my youngest child, Travis here. And I look forward to seeing you all tune in with us for the next episode, where a very dear friend of mine delves deep into, a little bit deeper into burnout. What does that look like? How do you overcome burnout and those kinds of things? So look forward to that, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.